Network. The whole point of my talk show is to show you that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities to never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be, so prove them and still amount to something. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Keith Andrew, and you're watching the Keith Andrew Network. Today, we are on the road to Thanksgiving. Every month, it's a different theme. Today, we sit down with Julie. You're going to hear from her when we come back from the commercial break. Oh, before we take the commercial break, if you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, make sure to leave a comment, hit subscribe so you will be notified when brand new episodes are up and ready when we come back.
Hi everybody, my name is Julie Riederer. I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm so excited to be on Keith Andrew's network today. He's doing such a great job. I love this guy, and I'm so ready to get to conversation with him.
We're back from the commercial break. That's right, you're watching this on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Make sure to like and subscribe, leave a comment, because me and my guests would love to interact with you. Now, with that being said, first question I want to ask you is, tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Keith. First of all, thank you so much for having me on. This has highlighted my day today. So, yeah, my name is Julie, and I am a stay-at-home mom with a daughter with disabilities. She has autism, and I do homeschool with her. And I also work for a company that we provide services for not only children with disabilities, but also adults with disabilities. So I'm very proud of the work that I do. It's a passion that I have. And then in my free time, if you can believe I have any, I do some acting, and that's my fun. That's mommy's fun. So I love to be part of some acting classes locally here in Phoenix, Arizona. And I also love to just be part of different filming events, and I've done some commercials. I have some very exciting projects coming up. So very nice to meet you, and I'm glad to be on your show today.
No, absolutely. So let's talk about the big question, the big elephant in the room, disabilities. Obviously, you have a family member who has disabilities, but I'm gonna ask the question anyway, because I always ask the question, so it's kind of redundant not to. Have you worked with people with disabilities? And for people who have disabilities that want to follow in your footsteps, because you are a professional actress, what would your words of wisdom be?
Oh, I have worked with people with disabilities, being that my daughter, she's 13, so she has disabilities. I definitely have worked with her, but also I have worked with other students in the past in the school setting with disabilities. And my current job allows me to work with providers who care for people with disabilities throughout the day. So I'm very familiar with life with disabilities, and there's definitely nothing that you can't do. If you put your mind to it, you can do it. My daughter has the most fierce determination I've ever seen in a human, and that's her ability. She's very strong-willed, and nothing stands in her way. Everybody's going to have something hold them back in their lives, and disability shouldn't be one of them. So being an actress or going through, for whatever dreams you may have, you can definitely do it. In fact, my daughter had her first acting gig last weekend, and she got to be in a Halloween scene in a movie where she was like a trick-or-treater, and so she had a lot of fun on set with the other kids, and everybody was very accommodating, and it was fun. It was fun for her, and she really came alive.
No, absolutely. And like I said in the beginning, I didn't say it here, but it's in the introduction. Labels do not dictate who you. I know I talk with my hands, force a habit. Labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. It's to prove to them you can still amount to something. So hashtag break the labels. But I did
Absolutely.
say, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was agreeing with you. I'm like, absolutely.
I saw on IMDb that you did a lot of upcoming independent projects. So, in a lot of films, I'm sorry, I didn't mean projects, a lot of films. So, I want to clarify that. So, what did you gain from doing these independent films, and what did you learn from the experience?
Yeah. So every time I go out, first of all, I have a lot of fun. I get to be creatively me. Um, Sometimes when and I love my family, they're great, but they don't think I'm funny all the time. Can you believe that? So I, I have to go out and find like my people sometimes and talk to other humans outside my household that maybe laugh at my jokes.
Well, I can relate. My dad thinks I'm not funny. No one in my house thinks I'm funny. But when I'm sarcastic, it's funny. When
Yeah.
I'm not trying, the problem is when you try to be funny,
Hmm.
you set yourself up. But if you're being sarcastic and you say something, you catch people off guard. It's like, well, that's really funny. I didn't really think you would say something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I can agree with you there.
So the other one I want to ask you is social media. Can social media make you or break you with everything that you accomplish? Did you ever receive opportunities from LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram? Has these websites helped you get acting roles, or do you think they also hurt you in the process?
Um, well, it can do both to a person. I guess it depends on how you are in particular and how you're going to field those incoming queries towards you. So, I mean, I've definitely had some people reach out to me that weren't so good, and I think you just realize that right away, and you just end the conversation real quick with those types of people that they may be either scams or not for your best interest. So you definitely just put them on block or whatever you need to do to not have those infiltrate your life. But definitely positive, because I choose to be positive, and that's the number one thing. Just choosing your own destiny. And so I have been reached out to for different opportunities. Just being on the Keith Andrew Network. I know we chatted, and I wouldn't have known you if we weren't friends on Facebook for sure. So that's a positive. And then a lot of the films that I do uh, get jobs on, I have gotten through Facebook and IMDb and Instagram. So it's definitely a positive if you want it to be.
No, I agree with you 100%. You know, for me, my new rule is if no one, I'm always giving people an opportunity. You want to be on the show? If you have a great story, I would love to have you on the show. But it's a cat. A lot of people say catch 22 or whatever crap that is. But you know, the thing is, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. This is what
Mhm.
I want to do to the day I die. So I didn't invite you. I'm use you for an example. I didn't invite you to be on the show, for shits and giggles, or oh well, we're just doing this to pass time. I'm not doing anything for the rest of my day. I'm not doing this for the hell of it. This is what I want to do. I'm on the spectrum of being retarded because I read and learn at a fifth grade to high school level. So I'm showing you, hey, I don't have a BA, I don't have a bachelor's, I never went to college. I may not be qualified to do what you do, but look at what I do and look at the opportunity that I created for myself.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so when I invite people, I'm like, okay, my goal is 1,000 episodes. And so when I first started, I'm like, okay, it was interview, 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 interview. I just didn't, that's my goal. Now I'm close to the goal to 1,000. Thanks to you, we're up to 965.
All right.
The problem, and one of the criticisms that I get is I look back and some of these episodes are like, oh, 1,000, 900, 800. And then I look at the other ones that don't even get any views. And I'm thinking to myself, yes, I invited you to be a guest on the show to support people with disabilities and to get yourself some airtime and hear your message. I expect every single person who I ever interviewed to promote the hell out of it, saying, I stand by Keith Andrew and people with disabilities. That's why I was on the show. And I tell people our goal is to reach 100 views. Have I made a mistake and say, I enjoy talking to someone, so I have them back on 2 or 3 times? Absolutely, I'm not perfect. But it doesn't mean they get any views. So my new attitude is, if your interview doesn't get any views, then obviously it's a reflection on me because I'm doing something wrong. And obviously for the guests, they're not taking it seriously. So if your interview gets traffic, say, okay, you got 200 views, then I definitely need to have you on the show again because people are watching you and people are listening to what you're saying. If you did an interview and you have absolutely no, and I interviewed people who have absolutely no charisma, who are pan-faced when you're deer in the headlights, and I'm like, I know I'm doing the right thing. I know I'm doing the right thing. I gave you an opportunity, but when you're on the show, it's a business transaction. I'm giving you the format. This is your time to say whatever the hell you want, and I'm expected in return you to take it very seriously. And some people, obviously, some people agree with me. Say absolutely. This is not a game. This is not a joke. You're giving me something. I'm going to help you with something. Do you agree or disagree? That I have the right attitude or the wrong attitude?
Oh, I totally agree with you. That's the right attitude, to be positive, of course. I mean, what other way is there to live than having a positive mindset? There's always going to be troubles in your life. You're always going to have challenges in your life. But how you attack those daily things or weekly or how many times they come in your life, because they're going to come into your life, challenges, is going to tell a lot about a person. And so you need to be positive no matter what. And being on your show and promoting the show is very important to me and you. It's a two-way street. It's for both of us. So.
No, I agree. If I may, what you mentioned, your daughter has a disability, and the question I want to ask you is, what is she passionate about doing for the rest of her life? And from someone who has disabilities, I can imagine, their struggles. You don't have to talk about this if you don't want to, but I bet she has an amazing story to tell.
Oh, she absolutely does. And whenever you have two people, more than one person in a room, you're always going to have two sides of the story. So, I mean, obviously my daughter's story is also my story, with different view cameras, right? Because she views her life one way and I view her life another way. So, my daughter was born, and when I was pregnant with her, actually, the doctors wanted me to not continue with the pregnancy because she had, they already knew that she was going to be born with a heart defect and a brain defect. And I really went home and prayed upon it. I never really thought that was, I never thought that was an option. I just want to let you know that. But I wanted to pray upon how far I would allow the doctors to work on her too. So that was definitely a question. But I said, God is having her for a reason. So I need to just surrender to what he has in store for her. And she's 13 years old now, and you know, she's really strong. And so yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't mean to impose. One thing on my network is I do ask hard-hitting questions, and to be fair, I asked you something, personal. You can throw it back at me. I have no cards up my sleeve. You can ask me anything you want. So I have nothing to, you know. My biggest thing is I walk around with my emotions on my sleeves, so people think I'm a pushover.
Yeah.
So, but that's the KeithAndrew Network. That's what. What someone said, I interviewed someone recently, and they said, you mentioned you have a disability. You mentioned you have this. You mentioned you do that. You make yourself very vulnerable. And I'm like, well, this is not a gimmick. This is not a charade. This is, real. And the more people are real, the better you connect with your audience. To connect with your audience, you need to be authentic. If you're full of shit, then people are like, huh, I like what he's saying, but there's something about him that it's not, I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I give you an example. Hulk Hogan, for an example. Hulk Hogan can come out and give you this story. Because he is, at the time, back in the 80s, a real life superhero. So you believe everything that he says. But then you mention someone like, for an example, throwing a ball out there, someone like Trump. But then you're like, yeah, there's a disconnect. So, you have two people in the room. Both of you are telling the same exact stories. Now, who are you going to go with, and what story do you feel is a stronger connection, if that makes any sense?
Yeah, absolutely. You can definitely tell when people are just saying the words without any emotion, without any affect to them. You know when they're full of shit, like you said. You can smell it a mile away. So I'm usually a pretty good judge of character with that. And I'll listen to people, but yeah.
If I may, and I didn't mean to cut you off, you mentioned a great subject that I want to actually hit on this, and I didn't mean to interrupt. I apologize. You mentioned you are a great. I actually just you can size somebody up. You're a great judge of character. I don't know why that was so hard for me to say, but but I said it. But I want you to size me up for anyone who's watching this for the first time. And I usually save this for the end, but you really piqued my interest with this one. I want you to size me up.
Well, I mean, first initial, meeting with you, I think you're a genuine person. We have chatted before online before, and you can tell a lot about a person when they're chatting also. So that comes through in the way that they speak, even through text and such. But now meeting you, I know that you're genuine and that you're not using your disability as a charade, as you say, or a gimmick or anything like that. That's who you are, and you should be proud of that. And you are proud of that. And your goal is to help other people not only understand and accept people with disabilities, but also reach out to those who do have disabilities and be a mentor for them. And I could feel it from your heart. Like you genuinely are saying, I mean, look at me, but not look at me, right? You're just saying, this is me, right? Not look at me, I guess is a better term about that. And this is what I'm doing. This is my dream. This is my passion. And it is coming through across loud and clear. And yeah, and I respect that. You got to respect somebody who is doing what they love and doing it with honesty.
You're absolutely right. Now, I want to ask you about your character. that you mentioned you are in all these upcoming professional interviews. Well, I'm sorry, you will be interviewed more, and I know people who would love to interview you, but you're doing these up and coming independent films. So the biggest question, and I realized after 9.5 years later, you can't do anything without a solid fan base. Now, is there, for you, do you feel you need a solid fan base to, for an example, create a house of cards? Because if you knock one card out, you demolish everything. Do you think you need to create a solid foundation before you start your career?
I, as far as a fan base,
Well, let me rephrase it. With every time you're in a film,
yeah.
obviously you have your friends, you have your family. They're very in your corner, so that's like a fan base. But is there anyone else that you can say, I know if I did this film, people will see it and comment on it? Do you feel that a fan base is very important?
I think it is something that's acquired along the way. Do I think it's important to get started? No, I don't, because I'm solid as a human, and I know where I'm at, and I know where I'm going, and I know what and I know where my future lies, and I have no intention of bending that towards anybody else. Um, so do I think it's important? No. I have friends in the industry that I work with locally that I know if I did something, they would be right there to be with me and to see me and to support me. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Now, the last two, actually, there were two questions I want to ask you. Is what attracted you to begin your acting career, and what are some of your greatest achievements?
Some of my greatest achievements, well, for one, it's raising my children with a kind heart and clear direction in life and allowing them to be who they are. That's very important. And then as far as professionally, I'm doing what I love. I love to take on different characters and acting stuff. So I don't know if I could just pick just one, but every time I'm on a set, I meet interesting and wonderful people and people who I already am friends with for time to come because they're just good, genuine people. So, yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. I haven't asked this as of late, but I'm going to start asking this. Back in 2020, when the pandemic first started, did you feel that your life was on hold, or has it given you a time to sit back and rethink everything? Do you think
So
it was like a blessing and a curse?
I think it was a little bit of both, but honestly, I am a person who, when in the face of adversity, so to speak, I always look at the bright side of things. So during the pandemic, yes, I wasn't able to, go to the gym or, take my daughter out. But we made the best of it. That's actually when I started homeschooling her, was at that time that I realized that she really blossomed as a student and as a person, just being at home and doing the things that she loved. Let's face it, this is a whole nother topic, but the public school system with people with kids with disabilities, it could be stronger. That's all I'm going to say about that. But so when she was home with me, we really did a lot of stuff. We did a lot of life skills. We did a lot of, just life skill stuff, cooking, baking, things that might seem ordinary to regular, typical people, I should say, are very important in my child's life, and I know a lot of kids with disabilities, like putting socks on or putting shoes on the right feet is an amazing task for somebody like that to do during a day. So, in many ways, it is very much a blessing.
No, I agree with you 100%. Oh, I don't remember the exact term that my brother used, but I have something called an IEP, a PROMA.
Yes.
Pretty much what that is a little certificate that says you completed the course. Now, if you want to go work on a car, don't ask me how you can go work on a car. If you can barely, yeah, I barely passed high school. Let me work on your car for you. But like that doesn't make any sense. But anyway, you can go work on a car. You can be a custodian, or learn any type of trades. But the joke about the IEP is inefficient educational process. I know it's a bad joke, but pretty much it doesn't mean anything because you can't go to a 4-year school. It's not a normal high school diploma. I am an example of there's this class called Team Life Skills, and yes, they teach you how to cook, but couldn't you teach me how to do my taxes? Couldn't you teach me to do something more valuable? Like something I'm going to do for the rest of my life? Cooking's one thing, that's fine. But what about, you're going to do taxes till your day you're 6 feet under. Couldn't you teach me the basics of the right way to do your taxes? Could you teach me how to, mail a letter? Can you teach me how to keep the IRS happy? There's so much they can do. Instead, my 4 years of high school was, here's the newspaper, go in the corner, don't bother me. That's my education. And, I fell through, the cracks of saying, a lot of people say, is the education process broken? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Do people don't give a damn? Pretty much people don't care. But that's, hey, I know someone who's a professional wrestler, and she has a disability. And, I think there's a couple of famous other actors, for that matter, who have disabilities, and they're household names. So it doesn't matter if someone gives you a shitty hand. First off, you lost your hands, but you prove to them, I'm capable of doing what you do, even if it takes a longer period of time. And that's what I'm doing. Yep. I may do things that are scaled back, but at the end of the day, at least I can look at myself in the mirror and tell you, I'm doing what I love.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But with that being said, it was the last 3 minutes. I'm going to pass it over to you. You can talk about anything you want, say anything you want. So, what would you like to talk about?
The last 3 minutes. Well, I can talk about some of the upcoming projects I have for my acting. So right now, currently, I'm doing a horror series that's online every week, and I'll be filming a new episode tomorrow, so I'm very excited about that. I work with a great cast, and it's called The Lake. So yeah, we're almost wrapping up our second season, and we'll be going into our third season very soon. And in between that, I'm joining a cast of other people. Some of them are my cast members, and some of them are some celebrities. The director writer for the work that I'm doing right now with The Lake is Avi Klein, and he is doing it's called the New Network, and he's doing podcasting 24/7. So it's going to be a new streaming service with podcasts. So it's going to be pretty cool. And so I'm going to have a podcast show on there coming up. I still have to work on that a little bit more, but I'm going to be talking about basically being a mom to a child with disabilities and in the trials and tribulations of being a caregiver. Because a lot of people don't realize how hard it can be, not only on the child or the person with the disabilities, but also the caregiver. So it's going to be both sides of the story, and hopefully I can maybe bring hope to some that, get very weary at the end of a day and sometimes think that there's no hope, but I want to give them hope. And it's very important, lends itself to, a lot of mental health issues too. So I just want to speak upon that and give people hope on that.
Well, absolutely. I do have a couple questions for you off the air. But wrapping up, it was a real honor and privilege having you as a guest. And I'm looking forward to part 2 down the road. And for our viewers, make sure to like and subscribe. I would love to know what you think of today's episode, and you get to interact with our guests as well. So until we meet again, catch you later. Thank you, and have a good night.